Why is India buying MH-60 when it has P-8I? The Indian Navy is procuring 24 MH-60 Romeo helicopters from US arms manufacturer Lockheed. The US has already given us 5 of these, the number 1 anti-submarine helicopter in the naval version of the famous Black Hawk choppers. Why are these choppers so important? Why is India buying systems like MH-60 again when it already has powerful aircraft like P-8I for anti-submarine hunting? Let us understand all these through this video. China, which is increasingly sending spy ships and submarines here to fulfill the important objective of controlling the Indian Ocean, the world's third largest ocean and the heart of Asia, and Djibouti in Northeast Africa to make this possible. A dedicated naval base is also being built. It can be termed as a major route for cargo transactions to and from Africa and the Middle East. Control of the said sea is necessary for Beijing to protect the Indian Ocean region, the biggest lifeline of China's economic system, from enemy blockade. So there is no doubt that what they are preparing for is the growing military presence there. But beyond all this, many experts in the field of global security point out that China is also promoting the exploitation of precious and rare mineral deposits in the Indian Ocean region. Beijing is planning to plunder the unique metallurgical wealth located on the Indian Ocean floor. If these operations are stopped by other countries using their forces in the Indian Ocean, they may challenge status quo with the deployment of their military power. China's main rival in the Indian Ocean since the 1980s has been dreaming of blocking the Indian Ocean, the Afro-Pacific Sea route, by focusing on India. It has been, and if necessary, will try to contain other regional rivals such as Japan and some other Asian countries. But New Delhi's intervention in the Indo-Pacific region since 2014 stifled this desire. India not only promised all kinds of security cooperation to countries opposing China in East Asia, but also agreed to sell arms to all of them. But China has retaliated by building an extensive military cordon around the Indian peninsula. As a result, Beijing opened military bases in Pakistan's Gwadar, Sri Lanka's Hambantota and Djibouti. In this regard, the PLA Navy's submarines and the Yuan Wang series spy ships voluntarily roamed the Indian Ocean, making their combat capability more aggressive. Knowing that the arrival of such ships is training for bringing a combat-ready carrier battle group into New Delhi's own territory in the future, India braced for every threat. While aircraft carriers were an obvious threat to naval forces as floating military bases at sea, submarines were a constant threat, capable of silently attacking battle groups or singly. China has a total of 80 submarines, including 67 conventional submarines and 13 mostly stealth nuclear submarines. If they bring these submarines for their missions in areas like the Bay of Bengal, they will be a huge asset to India's Eastern Fleet. To counter this reality, conventional submarines of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy have been patrolling the Indian Ocean at regular intervals since 2008, when Beijing recalled them after the Indian Navy detected them. Their place was patrolled by PLA Navy 095 nuclear submarines with sophisticated stealth features. Chinese conventional submarines, which are comparatively old and make a lot of noise while traveling in the oceans, are easily detected by enemy anti-submarine systems. It is because of these shortcomings that Beijing has used nuclear-powered submarines for its IOR operations. They have chosen ballistic missile submarines that can stay under the sea for months and are conventionally armed nuclear attack submarines. The strategy behind this was to place nuclear weapons very close to the enemy and the sea. The speed methods of the Marines that kept an eye on them should be stopped. How could the whole world remain silent on such brazen intrusion of China in the seas which the whole world considered India's right? So Indian Navy's decision was to give a befitting reply to any submarine deployment by PLA Navy. They found the best technology for this. The British Sea King helicopters procured by the Navy for ASW operations on its own ships in the 1970s were nearing the end of their service life and had already lost their effectiveness. So the enemy's newer AIP submarines could easily evade them. Therefore, it was necessary for India to find other ways to counter this supremacy achieved by Chinese submarines in Indian waters. The search brought down the world's #1 anti-submarine helicopter, the Lockheed MH-60 Romeo, in New Delhi. It was a new generation anti-submarine warfare fire helicopter from the world-renowned American arms manufacturing company Lockheed Martin. Being a naval variant based on the Black Hawk attack helicopter, it has the ability to fly at high speed. It has two GET-700 turboshaft engines to provide thrust. At 19.71 meters in length and 5.23 meters in height, Romeo can carry 5 people including the crew and has a range of 830 kilometers and the ability to fly at a maximum speed of 270 kilometers per hour. In addition, a specialized APS multi-mode synthetic aperture radar is fitted under the fuselage for detection of interoceanic objects, which enables these helicopters to track even small targets, and the Sonobuoy launcher, an AQS-22 and airborne low-frequency wire-connected dipping sonar make this MH-60 helicopter a dreaded deep-sea hunter. There are also covered customized weapon setups available on Romeo which are made just for India. The weapons package includes advanced Mark 54 air-launched torpedoes, air-to-air missiles and air-to-surface missiles, Hellfire missiles and the ability to carry the deadliest nuclear torpedoes. All ships of the Indian Navy including the aircraft can control the MH-60 through a command and control communication system. All this is possible through the Navy's satellite Rukmini Satcom link with each of the channels. But why is India, which has a large number of Boeing P-8I aircraft for anti-submarine warfare, turning to Romeo? The correct answer is its versatility. Compared to P-8I aircraft operating from land bases for maritime surveillance and attack, the Romeo can protect its fleet and accompanying equipment from enemy threats. Being a fixed-wing aircraft for long-range reconnaissance, the P-8I could only be launched on missions from a large runway. In addition, they cannot reach their naval task forces or carrier battle groups at a short notice, so the MH helicopter overcomes all these limitations with various technical specifications. It is essential to block such enemy penetration using new generation submarines. Only then the carrier battle groups coming to control that area will be able to proceed smoothly there. The Romeo plays a vital role in coordinating such operations with its companion aircraft around short distances through SATCOM links. These helicopters will be the mainstay of Indian military operations in the IOR as more of them will be deployed in the Southern Fleet. Furthermore, LPDs are planned to be raised by the Indian Navy in future. In short, if the Boeing P-8I is a large defense shield deployed in the Indian Ocean by India, we can say without a doubt that the MH-60 is a Brahmastra to strengthen that shield. India, which plans to establish a partial naval hegemony in the Pacific Ocean and completely in the Indian Ocean north of the Southern Hemisphere by 2030, could use these helicopters for surveillance and, if necessary, reconnaissance in these areas. It can attack its opponents by targeting it. So we can be sure that this mighty MH-60 Romeo will always be a nightmare for any enemy who catches sight of us. Jai Hind.